and only a few variants could fight against them using a mecha suit. This made Hayato enroll in a military school to get stronger. However, his insane compatibility with the suit also gave him incredible RIZZ, which made him a chick magnet, causing all kinds of women to long for him, and mated by the arrival of latecomers who turned out to be the fangirls from the airport. Noah and Liu couldn't beat Hayato. This got Emil and Hayato expelled as well. But Hayato begged Claire to take it easy on the girls, as it was all because he left his RIZZ on autopilot, so as well as her charming lab assistant Mei Mei. Charlotte introduced RIZZ, the AI that controls everything in Little Garden, and explained about the 100, but soon got distracted by the massive bouncing plots on her nurse Miharu's chest, so he made a run for it before his Excalibur awakened. Episode 2. Before the duel officially began, Claire announced that she was going to give the newbie a handicap so she wouldn't use her full body armament. Emil offers to support Hayato with intel, and the cocky queen accepts it as a handicap that'll even the odds more. Hayato still hadn't gotten the hang of his speed boosters, and as the countdown ended, it activated and launched him directly at Claire, causing them to collide. This messed up his brain so much that he unintentionally used her plots for support. Claire got enraged by this and proceeded to beat his ass with her fists and cannons. Hayato, in an attempt to fight back, followed Emil's directions and managed to focus his energy on his sword, which he used to launch a huge blast at Claire. Claire easily blocked the attack using her cannons as shields and pummeled Hayato once again. She told him to stay the down, but Hayato refused, and this made her combine all 6 of her cannons into an enormous blaster she called a Buster Cannon. Just as she was about to blast Hayato off the face of the earth, he lost control of his body and attacked Claire relentlessly. Claire tried destroying him at close range, but to her surprise, he used a full body armament to block her attack and overwhelm her. Claire resorted to using her own full body armament to match him and finally managed to end the match by blasting Hayato to Kingdom Come. That meant Claire officially won the duel. But the prideful queen refused the victory because to win, she had to use the full body armament, which she promised not to use. When Hayato regained consciousness at the hospital, Claire immediately asked him how he was about to keep up with her, but the dude told her his brain shut off during the heated parts of the fight. Before long, Karen, who just found out about Hayato's duel, met up with him and Emil and was very suspicious of their relationship. The 3 of them then visited a cafeteria and bonded over the delicious food there before Claire and her student council goons ruined the party. They actually came to recruit Hayato to help them out by joining their unit, which they called the Selections. But his babysitter Emil did fancy the idea. Claire then explained that if he joined, he'd be able to operate as a full-fledged slayer and fight savages. But she also added that they were understaffed and really needed his help. She claimed it wasn't compulsory, but it was important to help those in need. Emil decided that he'd join if Hayato did, but the macaroni-haired said they didn't need his NPC energy around them. This made Emil challenge her assistant, Liddy, to a duel for her to prove she can do more than kiss Claire's. After they activated their hundreds, the fight began and Claire was honestly stunned by Emil's amazing abilities. Just when the battle got heated, they heard an alarm which meant a savage had appeared in an area called the Zwei Islands. Liddy stopped the fight and joined Claire as they prepared for battle. Just then, Charlotte showed up and asked Hayato to join them. Epord Godzilla-sized monster. Claire decided that the mission was too dangerous for the newbies Hayato and Emil, so she instructed them to stay back while she and her assistants, Erica and Liddy, fought off the monsters with the hopes of Warslarn HQ sending reinforcements. However, Hayato strongly insists on joining in and helping out the residents, and Charlotte, while Claire busted its head open using her cannon to reveal its core, which Liddy then shattered to finish it off. Meanwhile, Liddy and Erica tried to finish off the Trenta-class savage but were tossed around like ping-pong balls, causing them to pass out. Hayato and Emil tried to swoop in and save them, but Claire stopped them and unleashed her full-body armament. She then fired a massive blast from her Buster Cannon, only for the kaiju to fire one of its own to cancel hers out. Her didn't hesitate to fire another massive blast to destroy her, but Hayato managed to save her at the last second. He was fighting like a wild beast, and Emilia had to snap him to his senses with a kiss. The monster in two like a loaf of bread. Claire was still shocked by Emilia's gender reveal, but eventually, they all took pride in their victory and went home. Back at their dorm room, Emilia revealed that she was permitted to keep the male disguise, but they'd have to live separately. Emilia also explained to Hayato how they'd been infected by the virus of the savage they faced those years ago, and now they're both extremely rare beings known as variants. She explained that his rampage was caused by the virus activating when he's in danger, and then she agreed to help him learn to control this mode the way she did. She then demonstrated with yet another smooch, revealing the only way to calm a variant is to have them jam tongues with another variant that's stabilized. Tak stared suspiciously at the clip of Hayato defeating the savage. Episode 4. Sakura was having a refreshing shower while her assistant informed Claire that her concert had been moved to a week later, and that they had requested someone from the academy as Sakura's personal bodyguard. Meanwhile at the academy, Hayato and Emilia went up against Fritz and Riisha in a training match. And while Emilia easily cornered Riisha, Hayato managed to avoid getting his head blown off by Fritz by controlling his variant mode for the first time and slicing through Fritz's attack to get the win. Before long, Claire informed Hayato that he'd been appointed as Sakura's bodyguard for her upcoming concert at the Zwei Islands since the savages may still be lurking. He immediately accepted and even used his RIZZ powers to get a free concert ticket for his diehard fangirl of a sister who asked him to get Sakura's autograph for her as well. Days later, Hayato arrived at the Zwei Islands and was shocked to see Emilia at his bedside when he woke up. She immediately asked him out on a date, but he told her he didn't have time to horse around because of his bodyguard duties. Later on, he went to the airport to welcome his client Sakura. Although he acted like nothing short of a dumbass on the road to Sakura's hotel room, his chick magnet powers were in full effect. And once they got there, Sakura asked him to marry her. Hayato was confused at first, but after she rambled on about the amazing future they'd have together when they got married, he got his nerve back and played along with her grade 4 delusions. However, when the Gigachad tried to seal the deal with a kiss, Sakura got flustered and went for a bath. Later on, Hayato accompanied lowly Rihanna to many celebrity events and was impressed by how well she handled the crowd. Not long after that, they inspected the concert site and Hayato lost his when Sakura showed off her 100 powers, which were fairy wings that allowed her to fly and create illusions. He even praised her and later went to report everything to Claire. Elsewhere, a mysterious group of variants killed several savages and plotted to cause chaos at Sakura's concert. Episode 5. The next morning, Sakura reminisced about her mom who showed her the power of music and later wondered what Hayato was up to. At a meeting with Hayato, Claire informed him of a rare item called a variable stone that was stolen from the concert venue before warning him to be extra careful while guarding Sakura. The queen then challenged him to a swimming contest as a rematch for their duel and tried to get him into a thin swimsuit for some unholy reasons. But he ran off for his date with Emilia like the Chad that he is. Not long after meeting up with Emilia, their date was disrupted when Claire broke the news that Sakura ran away from her hotel room and turned all her mobile devices off. Hayato didn't realize he was being monitored by the creep queen Claire through a screen. She was jealous of his shopping date with Emilia, and when she requested one of her own, he accepted. Sakura turned up at Hayato's date spot after tracking him and made him ditch Emilia to visit her secret spot. Emilia showed up with some drinks, but her man was already long gone. They explained to Souffle, who is Sakura's assistant, what was going on, and Hayato later reached the diva's secret spot, which was the Zwei Grand Canyon. There, Sakura thanked Hayato for saving the islands and asked what his sister's name was. When he told her, she freaked out and told him the savage incident at Gutenberg from his childhood was where she lost her mother, and that they'd met at a shelter where he praised her singing. She said Hayato's words that day inspired her love for music, which eventually led to her amazing career. She explained how her father ended up taking her in, but she was then diagnosed with a virus that made her lose her voice, and this made the deadbeat douchebag sell her off to a research facility led by a mad scientist named Vitali, who injected savage fluids in kids to make slayers out of them. This process killed the rest of the kids at the facility, but Sakura survived and got her voice back, which made her a variant. Hayato told her he's a variant too, and that made her happy since she matched him even more now. On their way back, their bus was suddenly knocked off the road and they soon realized that a savage had emerged. The savage fired more laser shots and moved towards Hayato and Sakura, prepared to destroy them with its sharp claws. Activated his 100 and engaged in combat with the beast by deflecting several of its attacks with his sword. But he soon realized without his special suit he was just wearing a useless tin can. Sakura immediately activated her 100 and shielded him to mincemeat. Fritz saved them by sniping the monster from afar, and Riisha joined the battle as well, alongside Emil, who cut off one of the savage's limbs, before realizing that the sneaky beast had already regenerated. The slayers attacked it again, and the charge began with Fritz and Riisha knocking it around before Emilia sliced off its arms again to create an opening for Hayato. Hayato tried to end it but was eaten away by the beast with its arm that regenerated immediately. It tried killing them with a blast, but Sakura yelled for it to stop, and to the surprise of everyone, it reacted, but not before revealing that they worked for Vitali. Hayato and the gang were relieved to be alive after having their asses handed to them by a savage as well as a team of dark slayers, and soon the rescue squad showed up for them. They met up with Claire, who informed them their attackers were a group of slayers called hunters who, unlike them, didn't give two about the law. Charlotte revealed to them that the savage cores the group gathered were structurally similar to the variable stones that gave them their 100 powers and were used in a similar way. She added that it had the same monetary value as the variable stones and could be used to change the power balance of the nation, before Claire emphasized that what they just discussed was top secret. The queen also scolded Fritz and RIZZ for acting without permission, and normally she'd send them packing from the academy afterwards. But Claire instead commended them for their efforts and accepted them into the selections. Fritz and RIZZ celebrated joining the team of their dreams, and later on, Emilia and Hayato made their way home. Later that evening, Sakura visited the stage she'd be performing on the next day, and told Souffle how excited she was to perform there for her mother. She also met up with Hayato at the riverside, where she told him she felt like a fraud who only got famous because of her variant abilities and not her voice. However, Hayato disagreed and reassured her that her voice was special since it reached the heart. After cheering up, she promised to fall in love with him even more and kill it at her concert. The next day, Sakura went full bloom during her concert. Ha felt the beauty of her music. The next day, Sakura met her biggest fangirl Karen, and signed her autograph before promising to sing with her whenever they met. Episode 7. Sometime later, the group of friends including Karen's nurse, Miharu, all visited the beach to have some fun. Sakura and Karen showed off their swimsuits to Hayato, but the lowly pair didn't hold his attention for long, as his eyes were held captive once again by Miharu's massive bouncy plots before Sakura dragged him, the virgin scum, into the water to play. Their party was soon ruined when Claire's brother Judel, whom she despised, showed up as the CEO of Warslarn, and he praised Hayato for his accomplishments. He then offered to take Claire back to Little Garden on his helicopter, and she reluctantly agreed. The next day, Claire informed Hayato, Emilia, Fritz, and RIZZ that they'd be involved in an anti-savage cleanup operation as part of selections. As Hayato left the student council office, Judel met up with him and offered to have a little chat. Judar took Hayato into the power station in Little Garden and showed him that what actually powered the city was a girl in a glowing pod he introduced as RIZZ, the first ever Slayer variant created in the world, and a sister to himself and Claire. Just then, Claire pulled up with a gun and asked why Judel brought Hayato there. Her brother explained that since Hayato would soon become one of Warslarn's top slayers, he needed to know about the most important thing in the world to Little Garden so he could protect it, and also added that Hayato might be able to wake RIZZ up. By Judel's request, Hayato gives it a shot and releases his energy directly into RIZZ's pod, but that wasn't enough to wake up the sleeping beauty. Judel then explained that Vitali might come after RIZZ, so he needed to discuss with the hunters as part of his plan to capture Vitali. He then teased Claire by suggesting she married Hayato, and when he left, Claire told Hayato to keep everything he heard a secret. A while later, Claire showed the layout of Quan City to the selection team, where she estimated over 50 savages had appeared, and introduced Zume, who'd be their guide as they'd be camping at Quan City, where she grew up. Claire then warned them to be careful because the hunters could be lurking, and Liddy added that the reason they were specifically picked for the mission was because they've fought those rebel variants before, so it'd be easier to fight them, and also that it was all Judel's idea. Before long, they arrived at their base camp at Quan City, where a strange but energetic lady rushed to Emilia and started kissing her ass. She soon introduced herself as Claudia, a slayer from Gutenberg who worked for the Britannia Unified Army and was also Emilia's childhood friend. Hayato got confused when he heard Claudia call Emilia a princess, so the crossdresser, who apparently had a fetish for keeping secrets, revealed to Hayato that she was actually the princess of Gutenberg. When Claudia begs Emilia to come back home with her, she refuses, claiming Hayato's was more precious to her than all her royal jewels, and this made Claudia jealous, causing her to challenge the resident boy to a duel over Emilia. The duel was held at Zume's family dojo, and while Hayato picked a wooden sword for the fight, Claudia went with a big metal flail which she fully intended to crush his plastic nuts with. To her surprise, Hayato deflected her attacks with his sword, and when she tried to put him down with a tornado-like move, Hayato saw through her attack and knocked her corny out. She wanted a rematch, but Emilia and Hayato told her to can it. While the couple strolled to their camp, Kravon smiled devilishly as he spied on them. Claudia celebrated the fact that she was paired up with Emilia, and when she tried getting Hayato to duel her again, Claire told her that Emilia, who was an important ally of hers, had made her choice and that she should stop simping shamelessly. After that, Claire and Claudia shook hands just before the other squad consisting of Fritz, RIZZ, and Liddy joined them. They were all dispatched to their separate helicopters while Hayato prepared for the battle ahead, always suspended by a spring with which she cracked the monster's skull to create an opening for Emilia to destroy its core. After that, their glorious leader Emilia inspired them to work harder, unknown to them that they were being spied on by the hunters. At the other end, RIZZ barbecued a savage, after which her team realized there was still a lot more for them to handle. Work of taking out 5 savages, and when Claudia mocked Hayato, claiming he was more useless than Joe Biden. But the fraud said he was fine acting as a decoy. Erica worried about the storm coming, and Claire said they'd have to be careful with their beam weapons. Later that night, Claire shared the plan to split her team into 2 groups that would take turns getting 4 hours of sleep each while the other watched the perimeter. Emilia insisted on partnering up with Hayato, of course for her own degenerate reasons. But the simp triangle argued until Emilia was eventually paired with Erica instead, and the remaining 3 went with each other. Hayato struggled to sleep, but Claire told him snoozing is also a really important part of being a slayer, so he forced himself to rest. When the 4 hours were up, they met with the rest of their squad, and Erica informed Claire that according to HQ, the slayers had taken out 42 savages in total, but there were more savages than they calculated. As Erica and Emilia went to bed, Hayato gazed at the sky with Claire as she told him the reason they fought was so everyone in the world could stargaze that peacefully as well. Claudia interrupted their romantic moment and teased them for it before informing them of a large shadow which she presumed was a savage over at the nearby lake. She suggested she stayed back while the duo looked into her shadow, which was actually a setup for Claire and Hayato to develop plot, so she could have Emilia dump him and run back to Gutenberg with her. Oddly, and meanwhile, back at their tent, that sneaky little Claudia told Emilia that Claire and Hayato were hooking up at the lake, which, to be honest, wasn't entirely false. Emilia still turns down her offer to go home with her and reveals she won't give up on Hayato, which made Claudia frustrated. Back at the lake, Claire asked Hayato about his variant power, and he told her he's gained more control of it, but also that it hadn't appeared since the mission on the Zwei Island. Judel kept her as a trump card to use against his enemies. She explained she became the captain of Little Garden so she could protect her little sister from the ambitions of Judel and Linny's, and when she asked if it made her selfish, Hayato disagreed, saying he became a slayer to protect his little sister as well as to make the world a happier place. He then swore to do his best for Little Garden before their touching discussion was cut short by an emergency call which made Claire slip from the lake's side and fall on Hayato again. Before long, they got word of an attack by the 3 hunters from before who were also jamming their signals. Claire sent Hayato to protect the rest of their squad while she rushed to save Liddy's team. However, the Hing and Kraven declared that luck was on their side. Episode 9. The hunters took advantage of Claire's weakened state due to the rain and attacked her relentlessly. Claire's balls suddenly came back and she advised the hunters to give up, but they refused and went on to attack her squad. Kraven tried to attack Claire, but Hayato stopped him in his tracks and fought him off. Meanwhile, Emilia turned her weapon into fencing blades which she used to trap Nakri on the wall, before transforming it into gauntlets which she got injured, and how she used the savage blood to give them powers. When Kraven said Hayato didn't have a reason to fight, and launching a massive sword strike at Kraven, the crybaby hunter managed to survive and used more of his variant power, but it evaded his attacks using a barrier before blasting him to hell. Hayato eventually saved Kraven, who begged him to save his comrades, Nakri and Nesat as well. Just then, Claire launched. The next day, Erica asked Claire why the hunter trio were being moved to Little Garden, but the queen herself had no idea what her brother was planning. A while later, Sakura and Karen caught the perverted crossdresser, Emilia, trying to steal a kiss from an Episode 10. At a certain area, a slayer named Wendy was cornered by a savage that knocked her partner ally out, and she noticed that the savage lacked a core. But while the young slayer was still shocked and disoriented by its sonic waves, she was stabbed by Vitali from behind. The mad scientist was pleased with her new creation. Meanwhile, at the academy, Claire welcomed Hayato back from his vacation, and when he asked about the hunters, Claire said they were being kept in an underground facility where they acted well but refused to give any vital info on Vitali. She also revealed that the Warslarn HQ Intelligence Division found Vitali's lab, but she'd already flown the coop before they got there. Claire then brought up the Garden's Festa, which was a school festival at Little Garden, and emphasized how they were going to tighten up security for that event in case Vitali decided to make a move. Sakura revealed that she'd be performing at the festa with what she described as a super secret special weapon. A while later, a plane arrived, and from it came Claudia as well as Wendy. When Fritz asked about Ally, Wendy said she hadn't heard from her in a while, which was very sus. A while later, Sakura revealed to Hayato that her secret weapon was Karen, who now surprisingly had 100 powers that'd allow her to partake in Sakura's concert. The Garden Vesta began, and while Claudia whined about being stuck on security duty, the hunters argued the intentions of the slayers within their prison cell. Before long, Hayato and Emilia ran into Erika and Riisha, who were in maid cosplays at a cafe. Emilia mocked the ladies' outfits, but she was also forced into a maid cosplay by the army of maids around. Not long after that, Hayato visited Karen in her dressing room and wished her good luck for her concert before Sakura walked in, and Judel surprisingly showed up to flatter the two girls and wish them luck as well. A while later, Sakura activated her 100 and started her concert whilst Vitali got into Little Garden with the help of Wendy, who she turned into a mindless puppet. Meanwhile, Sakura introduced Karen as her special guest performer on the stage, and Karen spoke of her dream to help others who were sick like her before activating her 100 powers. Hayato's face melted when he saw his crippled sister standing on 2 feet using her powers to sing in front of a crowd. Everyone was amazed by Karen's performance while Vitali watched from a secluded area. Episode 11. Karen blew everyone's minds with her angelic voice, and when she was done, Sakura announced that they'd sing the next song together while Judel smiled like the creep that he was. The lowly duo continued to sing their hearts out and mesmerized the audience, and at the other end, Claire was informed that Wendy was found unconscious, and when she came to, she was talking about savages without cores. Before long, Vitali made her move and a flying robot savage invaded the city. Riisha and Erika prepared to engage this new threat only for it to self-destruct. Another one showed up and attempted to blow up an electrical relay to take the power out, but Riisha fired a blast that sent it away. However, several other robots that Vitali planted exploded and took the power out in several areas. While trying to assess the situation, Claire was stunned when she saw footage of a cleaning robot turning into one of the B-type exploding bots like something straight out of a Transformers movie, so she ordered all cleaning robots to be shut down. Erika then informed her of the variable stones they found inside the exploded bees, which made her realize that Vitali was behind it, and they started evacuation protocols. Sakura, who was still on the stage at the time, got word of this situation, so she reassured her crowd that everything would be okay. Meanwhile, Riisha, Erika, Fritz and Liddy amongst other slayers destroyed as many bee robots as they could before they could explode. But one of the pesky insects had already corrupted their system. Not long after that, a strange aircraft crashed at the airport security post where Claudia was stationed, and the analysts at Claire's control room realized that they'd been hacked and were losing control of things. From the crashed aircraft came an army of coreless savages, which Claudia and her team engaged in combat. Claire tasked Hayato and Emilia with safeguarding the hunters against Vitali, who was already on the move. Another strange unmanned aircraft also crashed on the city's barrier, and more of Vitali's coreless man-made savages called replicants were released. Claire decided to leave her command post and go handle these rogue mechas herself, but Chris objected, saying that she's the only one who could lead the city at a time like this. Hayato and Emilia offered to go in her stead, but she refused at first. However, she got convinced by Hayato and Liza, who claimed it was for the best. At the same time, Vitali visited the hunters in their prison stations and returned their 100 so they could join the attack on Little Garden. Nakri was happy to oblige, but Kravan refused to partake in hurting innocent people and also told Vitali that he didn't see the slayers as bad people. This made the Osama bin Vitali pull out a remote device and flipped a switch that triggered a weird sound which resonated with their brains and got them in line again. Meanwhile, Liddy, Fritz and the rest of the slayers fought the replicants on land, while Hayato and Emilia engaged the ones attacking the city's barrier. Back at the underground facility, Mei showed up and fought Vitali. She almost beat her but was shot in her mechanical arm before she could get to the prisoners, who were now in their battle gears. The hunters then accompanied Vitali on her chaotic rampage. Episode 12. Back at the control room, Claire and Charlotte realized Vitali was headed to Sector 11, which was where Liza's pod was. Judel called and told Claire that he'd handle the Liza situation himself, while Hayato and Emilia struggled to defeat the replicants at the barrier. When the trap guarding Liza activated and electrocuted Nakri, Kravan and Neset hesitate to obey Vitali, but she uses her remote again to force them back under her control. Just then, Mei rushed toward them and engaged Vitali in a gunfight, so they both fired away till they ran out of ammo, and as a result, the cyborg lab assistant got shot in the leg. When Vitali reached Liza's room, she met Judel, whom she wanted to kill for using and dumping her, and then swore to destroy Liza, Little Garden and its slayers. The replicants then emitted sonic waves that affected all slayers in Little Garden, while Judel tried rizzing up his psychopathic ex, but she was a fan of Dua Lipa. Vitali then fired multiple shots at Liza's pod but couldn't dent the barrier, which made her realize Liza was awake. Judar explained that Sakura's music helped wake her up and everything that was going on at Little Garden was all part of his plan. The loser ex-girlfriend then threw a tantrum and shot at Judal several times, but Lisa protected him with a barrier. Judal then put her down with his gun, and as she died, he thanked her for being a till the end. The mastermind apologized to his little sister for waking her up, but she tells him she has stuff to do. Meanwhile, Hayato and Emilia fought for their lives at the barrier. They attacked the replicants as much as they could, but the Trenta-class replicant knocked them out. Just then, Lisa appeared to Sakura and Karen and told them that their music was the key to ending the chaos. Lisa then healed Karen's legs so she didn't have to perform while looking like a Professor X knockoff. The duo started singing, and the banged-up Slayers suddenly felt energized again and went back on the offensive. Hayato got his balls back after hearing the voice of his little sister and her idol, and used his variant power to activate his full-body armament, which he used to destroy the giant replicant before collapsing inside the barrier through the crack. Things took a turn for the worse when the Trenta-class replicant regenerated and loaded a massive blast to destroy the city. But Kravan and the hunters blocked the attack. They were soon overpowered by the monster, and Nesat had to save their asses by transforming into a similar monster using her variant powers and defeated the replicant easily. But Nesat lost control of herself in the process, and Charlotte revealed if she went on with her rampage, she'd cause a huge explosion that'd destroy their city. Lisa appeared in Hayato's dream, telling him to save the city as well as Nesat, and since his RIZZ was still strong in the dream world, Lisa kissed him. Meanwhile, Claire was preparing to shoot Nesat's core and end her life when Hayato stopped her and begged for a chance to save her. Claire reluctantly agrees, and Hayato engages Nesat in his full-body armament. He tried using a bit of talk no jutsu, but she lost control again, and Emilia had to save him from her attacks. He tried even more to use the power of words, but she still attempted to blow the town into bits. So he went inside the monster and used the power of RIZZ instead to convince her to stop the commotion. When Nesat returned to normal and everything was over, Lisa thanked Claire for saving Little Garden. Sometime later, the fireworks went off while Emilia engaged in some tongue activity with Hayato. Everyone walked in and caught the horny duo red-handed, leaving Emilia no choice but to confess that she's actually a girl, and a princess as well. Everyone's jaws dropped, but the jealous queen, Claire, showed up angered by their kiss, and with her buster cannon, she blasted them off the face of the earth.